By the time we
Should've
listen
wore
to
that
this, Ross could be free.
The last time a comprehensive review of the federal government was completed in 1984, the budget was $848 billion. National debt was $1.6 trillion, and debt to GDP ratio was 38%. The budget is now $7 trillion. The national debt is $35.3 trillion, and the debt to GDP ratio is 121.6%. Do any of you guys know, like, I think there's, like, once the debt to GDP usually gets over, like, 100% or something like that, like,
Your
statistically and
X years.
historically, every single one of those nations has had, like, catastrophic failure.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Like,
It's a debt spiral.
The debt spiral or whatever it's called.
The debt's gonna go parabolic.
I think it was, like, Japan might be,
Yeah.
might, like, this might have not happened in Japan yet. It might be the only country that has, like, operated, like, with a negative debt to GDP ratio for an extended period of time.
Our debt to GDP is 125%. I'm pretty sure Japan's is like 270% or 263%. So like we still have some wiggle room, I guess, is like some people's argument. But
They also have a fiercely loyal culture where you're like, you can kind of do that. Paul and I were talking about phalanxes earlier, like, very tight fighting force where you move together as one. Like, you can kind of run that gambit if you know that, like, Japanese folks will continue to buy Japanese bonds for the greater good, and that's just like deeply rooted in their culture. That's not how it works over here. We can't fucking agree on anything. So
I'm not even Japanese, and
really
I love
true.
Japanese culture.
yeah. So I think
the Japanese will still buy.
I'll still buy their bonds
treasuries.
as they keep cranking out anime and manga and great sushi.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
But China and Russia are out. I mean, we need them to continue to buy our treasuries, and they're not doing that anymore. So it's like,
I mean, why would they?
$100 over.
a little
We're
bit.
screwed.
Yeah, this is like
This is why stablecoin legislation is so important. We need to, like, let people on chain, let the whole world who want dollars finance American debt. Like, Circle, Tether, whoever are going to turn around and just fucking give that money to the treasury, collect a yield on it, and then people all over the world get access to the US dollar. Yeah. I mean, it's a no fucking brainer.
There's this is an unpopular opinion, and I think like you got to try. Like you always have to wake up and you got to try. We got a problem, you got to try to solve the problem. And Doge is a novel idea to try and solve the problem. But the debt is so significant, and that budget is like 70% plus of the budget. I feel like you would know more about this than me. It's entitlement programs, so like they're not gonna find like that much that you can really cut that's actually going to make an impact. It's impossible unless you're like, there's no more Medicare and there's no more Social Security, which nobody's going to do. It's not going to be, that I won't go that far.
Yeah.
Right. So I think like the only way out
Got to grow your way out
is you got to grow your way out of it. And that's why I think the strategic Bitcoin reserve is a real way to do it. And you can literally just print
Cynthia Lummis agrees with
currency
you.
to get out of it.
Yeah.
The only way out is actually through. Now, you can do both of these at the same time. We can trim some of the fat,
Of course.
but it's not like, we're just going to like spend. We'll never have a balanced budget.
If they're sending 80-something billion, what is it, 80-something billion dollars to just people who are no longer alive? I mean, let's start there. I mean, there's like some kind of entitlement stuff that it's not can be fixed, right? Like that entitlement stuff can be fixed. Once you're dead, you're no longer entitled to it anymore. Yeah. I'm sorry, but like that's ridiculous.
That's an example. So it's like 80 billion of
you could literally
80
solve
trillion,
hunger.
right? So it's like that's the dent that you can make by just like not fucking like just fix the stuff that's broken is a drop in the bucket.
Paul, look up what it would cost to solve hunger and homelessness or whatever in the U.S. Like, you could literally take the money they're sending to dead people. It's like $50 billion or something like that. Like, you could take the money that they're sending to dead people and just repurpose it for that and solve that problem. So, I mean, like, there is ways. That is a common thing. I've been hearing a lot. I think I was speaking to CJ Constantinos, who was on, and we were talking about that. And, like, he raised the very similar points. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's creative ways to do this, and I think we should hit it from all angles.
Agreed.
One of the craziest statistics I've ever heard is, you get this nonsense about taxing and we're not taxing the rich enough. If you confiscated all of the wealth from all of the billionaires in the entire world, you could only run the U.S. government for 6 months.
That's crazy.
So, like, it's a spending problem.
Yeah,
I mean, we're screwed.
Yeah. Oh, so this would solve world hunger. I was thinking just in the U.S., but I don't know.
Think bigger, Maddie.
I'm thinking bigger. All right, let's see here. 267 billion to solve world hunger, but U.S. only is less, which with our tax revenue should go to Americans first. Yeah, 25 billion. So if they just took the money they're sending to dead people right now.
Right.
And just took a fraction of that money they're sending to dead people and just said, hey, we're going to solve hunger and homelessness or whatever in the U.S. Like, boom, you could just take 1/3 of that money and solve that problem. I mean, and of course, I mean, it's not that simple. Obviously, some of these problems are more complicated than just money, right? But,
It's insane.
it's insane.
The numbers are insane. And the dollar is also going to hyperinflate.
You think so? What's your timeline on that? I actually think that would be horrible for the world if that happened.
I agree. I'm
It is
not
horrible.
I think
Because
that
a lot of people would, poor people or uneducated, a lot of people will lose. And I think that would, like, hyperinflation
You
is
don't
like,
think that's going to happen?
I think that it can't happen. Like something would intervene first, like a global, World War III kind of thing, like before
Like
that would
BRICS in
actually
China
happen.
settling oil outside of the dollar.
I mean, we're moving in that direction. I just think that like the
more
catastrophic impact on it's like mutually assured destruction. Like
Yeah.
if the dollar goes away, like everybody's screwed, to some degree. So I think that like we actually will be in a parallel system. I would certainly believe in hyper Bitcoinization. And I think that like the dollar's not going to go away because it's such a power vessel. It's more like I think about Bitcoin personally as like the best savings account of all time. I don't actually want to use Bitcoin to buy anything. And I'm being like really, blunt in this point for example's sake, but like, I don't totally care if Bitcoin is accepted at the coffee shop personally. I care that that I can save in it, that I can capture value. And I hope that the country that I live in, the United States, thinks that way too. And I'd rather, if you got to prioritize that, I mean, you'd like to theoretically do both.
Yeah.
But I think like the dollar will still be a transactional vehicle, and it's not a bad transactional vehicle. And Bitcoin can underpin that. It's like gold standard. This isn't a new concept, actually.
very interesting. Guys, we're going to wrap here soon. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or comments? This has been a fantastic discussion, by the way. I got to compliment you guys. Like we've gone down some cool rabbit holes, had some great convo. What do you got for us, Dan? Anything to close out?
Oh man, I think this is really, I second this. This has been really fun. It's going to be really fun to watch this in like a month, right? And in 6 months, presidential regime changes happen no more frequently than every 4 years. And almost always it's like every 8 years. So these are like, things are going to change, and some things will be good, some things will be bad, some things will be good for some people, and it's all your perspective, right? But it's going to be interesting at a very, what was Dave? Like, I don't know where I'm going, but I promise you it'll be interesting. Something like that, right?
I hope everybody wins, man. I hope this is a great 4 years for everybody.
Yeah.
What about you, Michelle?
Especially Ross. Free Ross.
Free
Day
Ross.
one,
Let's
right?
go.
It's a
I
couple
think-
days.
Trump's got to do that. I mean,
He's got to do that. That's low hanging fruit.
I
That's
think
something
he's
he
gonna
can
do that.
easily do.
Yeah.
He made that promise. He doesn't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
If you're Ross and you're sitting in jail right now and you're like God, that you just think about if you're given your life back
Right.
after you've been that it's been ruled that your life has been taken away.
Yeah.
How grateful
Yeah.
you would be, and then how you would pay that forward.
Right.
And just like live life. Enjoy every breath.
I almost wore my Free Ross Vote Trump shirt today, but I forgot.
It's going to be, by the time we
Should've
listen
worn
to
that shirt.
this, Ross could be free.
Oh, interesting.
Let's go.
Right?
Scotty, what do you got?
That's
Scotty
the
doesn't know
Bit-
the
Bitcoin.
feeling.
I can't
Bring me
with
back
his
to middle
voice.
school. I just think Bitcoin fixes this for a lot of the issues that we've been talking about. Bitcoin fixes this, and be applied to a lot of different things.
Bitcoin fixes this.